Wanted to welcome everyone, and first of all what I'm going to do is hand over to Judith from the Crown Estate. Judith.
Okay, thanks. Hi, morning everybody, it's lovely to be here. As I walked into our office, which is just around the corner earlier on this morning, I saw this fantastic billboard on the Piccadilly Lights. So whoever's here from Lands, well done. It's just great to see the lights taken over like that. And be put to such amazing use, because it really cuts through in terms of being able to show that A, it's Purple Tuesday, and B, there's some really, really interesting stats. So I'm Judith Everett, I work at the Crown Estate. I lead on our purpose, sustainability and stakeholder activities, a lot of our central functions. But the reason I'm here today is because 5 years ago, Mike and I were at a round table. This feels like a lot longer than 5 years ago. I had to go back and check that it really was. But Mike and I were at a ministerial round table, but the name of the minister escapes me, but I'm not even sure if she's still an MP. But she was really leaning into this whole activity that could be in the round table. And the idea for Purple Tuesday was prompted from Mike on that day. And I thought, what a fantastic idea. There were several of us there thinking, what a fantastic idea. So that was really the birth of this particular event. And it also established a long-standing working relationship between Mike and ourselves at the Crown Estate, but also the wider Purple team, and we've really worked with them. And I thought I'd just say a few words before we open for, and then I'll hand over to Mike. But I just wanted to welcome you all here, and talk about what we've been doing very briefly. It's not a pitch for the Crown Estate, but I thought there'll be a lot of things that you're doing that you'll be talking about on your tables, and I thought I'd share what we've been doing at the Crown Estate. What is great is to see so many people, so many organisations represented here in this room, thinking from a variety of sectors about what we can each do to really make our spaces more accessible, and listen to organisations like Purple, but also those who live with the life experience of manoeuvring spaces and trying to get access to services with a range of disabilities. So it's really important that we keep leaning into this. The last couple of years have been really challenging. There are some plus points in terms of people working remotely and not having to schlep all the way in through traffic and all sorts of obstacles to get into work. But yeah, it's been a massively tough couple of years, especially for people who've lost roles. We've been working on what we can do. So yes, we lent into that first Purple Tuesday. It was a nice thing to support, but we've also been really looking at what we can do. And to avoid making it overwhelming a subject, Deborah, who's sitting in amongst you here, Deborah Clark, has really worked under three main pillars of focus, which are place, people and policy. And if I just give you a couple of examples in terms of what we've done in each of those to help shape our thinking and really move ourselves forward with some proper actions. We've audited our places, so we did some work with an organisation that many of you will know and probably are represented in this room, Access Able, to really provide guides on what it's like to visit our places. Yes, make improvements, but how do we really make the information available so people can take their own call about what they'll need, what support, or whether they're able to go in. Building on that, we're also looking at what we need to do, because we know, certainly we moved into our own office 5 years ago. It was a brand new build, and it was really horrifying to realise that we'd built a brand new build without specifying some really simple design features right from the beginning that made a place genuinely work for everybody who needed to use it. So we've got a roadmap of what we need to be doing. In terms of people, it's a range of things from what we do ourselves. We've got an intern programme. This year we ring-fenced a role for somebody with autism. We looked at what we needed to learn to make coming into work with us a really supportive and productive experience for that person, and we're using it to shape our onboarding for people. But we'll also look at what we do in subsequent years with that programme, increasing, growing it. And we've really looked at how we can work with our supply chain on training people in terms of what needs to be done. And I think, Mike, what really struck me on one of our first meetings was people's lack of comfort in engaging with people who they might see have a very visible disability, or who act in a way that they're not quite sure if there is a disability, or that people are nervous about approaching, either because they're scared and don't know what to say, or they worry they'll say the wrong thing. So we've been doing a lot of work to train with organisations like Purple and others to really look at what we train through our own supply chain, our own organisation, but also working with customers, some of whom are in the room. And then on the policy front, we've been updating our development principles so that we really avoid building buildings without the right requisite features integrated right from the beginning, because A, it's the right thing to do, but also it's a lot cheaper to do it right from the beginning than try to retrospectively make changes. Also really looking at how can we set a benchmark so we keep pushing ourselves, and we've drawn a lot of organisations, but also people with lived experience to inform that. So working with ambassadors to really review, critique our approach and understand what we need to be learning. And I think most important of all is that partnership piece. So working with organisations like Purple, really building those relationships and being open to challenge, and recognising that we can't possibly have all the answers. I'm sure everybody sitting here will have that view that none of us individually have all the answers to these things, but we're going to make a much better impact by working together. On Regent Street, we've worked with a range of ambassadors to make the public space. So one of the benefits of COVID was we were able to widen the pavements to make it it's a major road. It's a big bus route, so that's not going to change. But we have looked at how we can make it more pedestrian friendly, and with that also more friendly for people who have limited mobility. And we've worked with Purple, but also Accessible and other ambassadors to work on what we can do to keep improving. This is a temporary scheme, so we're looking at what comes into place longer term. So a lot of those learnings will inform what comes into place longer term. And then working with others, especially landowners. There's a big chunk of us who are in really fortunate positions to own large asset bases here in the West End. So we know that if we work together, we can make much more impact, but it'll make it a much more welcoming environment for people to visit. And this time last year, Debbie, I think it's fair, isn't it, that this time last year we held a workshop with Landsec and a range of other companies, but also Marks and Spencer's. Mike, you were at that as well. And we had a really good turnout, strong appetite to do things. So in a way, this carries on the conversation. But most importantly, what came out of that workshop a year ago was an industry collaboration of landowners, landholders in this area, in terms of what we needed to do to really take positive action to make an impact with the spaces that we manage and own between us. So it's an ongoing exercise. We're learning a lot, and I think this year's experience will just add to that, and we'll keep moving forward. So I hope you have a really good session. I'll stay for a short while, but we're in the middle of a big planning meeting, so I have to go back, I hate doing that because I love hearing what's going on, but I'll just sit at the back, so when I do leave, I leave discreetly. But have a great day, and welcome. Mike, over to you.
Thank you, Judith. In terms of serendipity, I had been to a shopping centre just the day before to do my Christmas shopping. I hate Christmas shopping. I do it all in one day. And I went with my non-disabled partner. And that day we went into 28 shops, and in 23 of those shops, I was simply ignored by frontline staff, or they only spoke to my non-disabled partner. And on the way home, we talked about it and said, do you know, I don't think this is explicit discrimination. I think this is a fear of unintentionally saying the wrong thing and doing the wrong thing, and actually the default position is to swerve the conversation altogether. Didn't think anything more of it, and then the following day I was at a table with Judith and colleagues, and the minister said, we've got to do something around retail, any ideas? And no one put their hand up, so I did, and said, can I just tell you about my experience yesterday? And I said, we have Black Friday, we have Cyber Monday, why don't we create Purple Tuesday? And that was it. And that was how it was born. Nothing scientific really in it. Right place at the right time. And it is unbelievable how far Purple Tuesday has come in 5 years. And I just wanted to say a huge thank you to Judith and the Crown Estate for being the event sponsor today. And probably one thing that you didn't know is they were the first ever sponsor of Purple Tuesday about 3 years ago. And you get that sliding doors moment where it enabled us to grow that year to a point where this year we have 26 sector partners in the room. So a huge thank you from me to the Crown Estate for everything you have done, and a huge thank you to all of you as our Purple Tuesday sector partners. And as you know, Purple Tuesday is about improving the disabled customer experience. I will tell you that Purple Tuesday is also about improving my worrying skills. Just the enormity. And I have gone to a specialist weatherman over the last 3 or 4 days. I have gone on every kind of possible site that exists. I don't know whether anyone follows Black Clouds, but they can give you a minute by minute account of what's going to happen as we kind of track the weather. And I can absolutely tell you that at 3:20, when the alarm went off this morning, I didn't need the alarm because the rain was hammering so hard on my windows, and I had that kind of moment. I'm also now a specialist in time zones, particularly when you move just before Purple Tuesday from British summertime to GMT, when you are choreographing events right round the world. So factoring in the clocks going back was more complicated than I have ever in my life. And as we speak now, the event in Dubai is just coming to an end, and you will see the magnificent photographs from Dubai, a reception double the size of this in Dubai. We are also lighting up Malaysia and Singapore later today, and brilliantly we are introducing Purple Tuesday into Pakistan, and some of the monuments in Pakistan and in Karachi are going a tint of purple today, followed next week by a Purple Tuesday pioneer launch at the Deputy High Commissioner's residence in Karachi. And we started this journey about 6 weeks ago, and I will tell you, at this moment in time, there are 48 businesses sitting down to lunch. I'm not sure it's going to be a lunch or a seminar the way it's going, but I just wanted to say a word about people with disabilities in Pakistan and just acknowledge the recent catastrophic flooding where 1/3 of the country was under water, and all the news was about people being displaced. The reality is, for most people with disabilities, that displacement wasn't even an option. And so it is our opportunity with the business community to be able to shine a real light on the lives of people with disabilities, and quite frankly, forget the customer bit this year, but get the engagement of businesses in understanding why these issues matter and build a level of resilience. Because what we absolutely know, in the next 6 months, there is more flooding to come. So this is not just a one-off. So we are really pleased that Purple Tuesday can adapt and play a part in what is going on in the lives of people in their local region. And later today, when America wakes up, and you will know when America wakes up because you'll see it on social media that Charlene has woken up. Very strange not to have her by my side today, but she is in Minneapolis leading a road trip around the state of Minnesota, including a 2-hour session at the university, the lighting up of the buildings along the river in the evening, and probably, and if people have heard me today, the piece de la resistance is a trip to Paisley Park. Some of you will work out Paisley Park, and then we talk about Prince and the home of Prince, and we have got permission, and sometimes I do need to sit and think, my goodness me, but we have permission, and we are going in not only to the house of Prince, but we are going into the recording studio where he produced the vast amount of his music. And I saw a stat the other day that said in the last 3 years of his life, he spent 72% of that life recording music in that studio. And we will be there with a deaf school choir from Minnesota, who will of course deliver a rendition of Purple Rain in American Sign Language. And for those of you on social media, we will release it here on Purple and my social media at just after 8 p.m. this evening. Purple Tuesday has to be about raising awareness. It has to be about raising understanding, but it has to be about involving organisations and engaging organisations as well. And to do that, this year we have gone global, and we are creating, in this world of 2022 where most of us spend our time fixated to our phone and most of us follow social media, if you are going to engage people, you need to create a set of wow moments to capture them. Piccadilly Lights, part 1 and part 2 today. That didn't do much of my worrying, I can tell you. Is 1. At 4 o'clock this afternoon, we are lighting up Canada Square in Canary Wharf as part of a celebration. And symbolically, that is incredibly important, because the message behind Purple Tuesday is that this is a commercial opportunity for businesses that get it right. It is a commercial opportunity for businesses that think through the lens of a customer market that equates to 274 billion in the UK. And in the last 2 weeks, the global figure has moved to $13 trillion worldwide, for which less than 10% of businesses have any strategy whatsoever to access the market of disability. And what we know from a recent statistic is that the disposable income of disabled people globally, 53% remains unspent and waiting for people who can deliver a great quality customer experience, for which disabled people we know are the most loyal to their brands. So there is a huge commercial opportunity, and you need to take it, because if you do take it, it will do one thing, and that one thing is it will drive the quality of your service for people like me and 14.6 other million disabled people in the UK, 17% of the global population. And we always talk about, well, how is that comprised? And I always say, some people call me Mike, which is my preference. Other people call me a 17%er, which is those who are born with their disability. You do the math. What it means is 83% of disabled people will acquire their disability throughout their lifetime. We also know that up to 80% of disabled people will have a hidden disability. I walk into the room, it don't take you long to work out I'm disabled. But 4 out of 5, you simply will not know. So you have to reorientate your own mind and your own thinking in order to support your staff to reorientate their mind and their thinking. And why does it matter? I did a property conference about 9 months ago, and they had the ability to do live instant polling. And the question was, given the broad definition of disability, neurodiversity, mental health, people with cancer, people who had fully recovered from cancer, all those in the definition, how many of you in that room either had a disabled relative or someone in their close network that was disabled? The research, the empirical research 5 years ago said 50%. In that room 9 months ago, it was 92%. And if organisations then ask themselves, why does this issue matter? Is because it is likely that 92% of their workforce will know someone with a disability. And the instant question that you ask yourself as an organisation and as a brand is, would I want my staff members, daughter, niece, auntie, grandma, mum, dad, to come into our business and be treated in a different way simply because they had a disability? And the answer has to be no. And I think post-lockdown, the issue of social impact is rising up the agenda in a way I don't think any of us, particularly me, has ever seen before. And we are moving from simply a tick box exercise with a paragraph in your annual report to something much more substantial. Something that tells people, whether it is your staff members who want to work for a brand that gets inclusion, diversity, disability, your customers who are increasingly expecting it. And Isaac's here today and other disabled people of, let me say, a younger generation to me, are demanding it and expecting it. Not as I was growing up, if you got something good, you would go, blimey, wow, I'm fortunate. Those days have gone. And I can also tell you from my many discussions that for a variety of reasons, investors are expecting to see it in the investments that they are making. So all of this, Purple Tuesday, makes total sense in both a commercial context and also a social context as well. And what Purple Tuesday is about the promoting and sharing of accessibility changes that can start to make that happen. And when you think we have 6,000 organisations this year across 5 countries who are committed to at least 1 or 2 changes, doing things that they have hitherto not done in the field of accessibility, you can quickly start to see why you can make such a difference and why Purple Tuesday is growing exponentially. And I just wanted to finish off, and I'm going to have to read it so I get it right. But as part of this year, our strategy, our plan has been the wow moments, followed and supported and aligned with hard evidence. And I wanted to just to give you the headline figures from research with 502 people in the UK, disabled people in the UK, over the last 4 weeks. And we will do the global aggregation on International Day for People with Disabilities on the 3rd of December. And can I just say, before I tell you them, you will not be surprised at any of the statistics. But actually, not only surprised, we've got to do something about it. So, 66.14 prefer brands that feature disabled people in their marketing. And this increasingly is about disability representation. And this is about the affinity and the link with the brand. And can you see me in my brand? And if I can't, then do I want to be associated with that brand? And it's pretty straightforward. And we had a virtual conference a number of weeks ago, and senior executives from across the globe who understand this better than me said the key issue for brands is about how they represent this element of the market in a sensitive way and in a way that connects. The research will reinforce that. 76.46% of disabled people prefer brands and want brands where it doesn't cost them more to accommodate disability related needs. And I'm not picking on them because there's other areas, but higher premiums, automatic higher premiums for insurance is a real prime example of that. 69.12 disabled people will choose to go to places where accessibility information can be easily found on the website. Most of you, most of us, before you go anywhere these days, the gateway to that place is the website. If that gateway is closed, disabled people will think twice, 3 times about going there. So getting your front door right is incredibly important. And 73.31% of disabled people prefer brands that allow disabled people to be spontaneous without having to make plans way in advance. And I can tell you, how many of you plan your life to the nth degree 3 weeks in advance? And quite frankly, I'm off to Cornwall tomorrow. I have no idea what time I will take the train from Chelmsford into London. I've got a fixed ticket out of London into Cornwall for, my God, the cost. But I need a level of spontaneity. Everyone does. And if you can't offer that, then I'll choose elsewhere. And finally, 70.12% will simply not return to a venue where they had a poor customer service. We know that. The evidence has said that. Disabled people are telling us that. And the challenge of Purple Tuesday is to do something about it. I'm going to now hand over to Chris Gale from eBay, who are our brilliant global headline sponsors. But before I do that, Chris, I forgot to mention at the very outset, I would just want to say something that I never ever say to my 15-year-old daughter, which is, while I am talking and while others are talking, I am really happy for you to multitask and go on socials as well. Can I just tell you that we are all on a journey. None of you in this room, including Purple, are at the destination. We are all going on a journey. And can I ask today, if you're going to tag Purple Tuesday, Purple Choose Nov, and there is a visual, we all switch and make sure we actually do an image description of what that visual says, please. And maybe if that's one thing we take away, to do that. But with no further ado, I'm going to hand over to you, Chris. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Incredibly inspiring to hear the sort of journey from that idea several years ago to where we've got to today. It's my first Purple Tuesday. Also really cool to hear the link with Prince. I think that's going to be great and it's super cool. I really enjoyed the lights this morning. I think all of us did. Really nice to start to build some connections with others that are supporting Purple and hear what you guys are doing. I'm going to be quite brief. I'm just going to talk a little bit around what eBay are doing and why we're so proud to work with Purple. So we've supported Purple Tuesday now for 2 years. And although today is obviously the key moment in the year, I think we all agree that accessibility and equality are challenges that we should be reflecting on, not in isolated moments, but across the year. I should have said I'm Chris. I head up social impact at eBay in the UK. My colleague Keith is also at the back, so grab either of us afterwards. So at eBay we have a big purpose of economic opportunity for all, and I think those words really mean something when you look at the findings that Mike just shared with us and recognise that there are many barriers standing in the way for communities to actually access opportunities. eBay serves 1 in 2 households in the UK and has over 20 million active buyers every month. And I joined eBay because I believe that it's a business that is truly for everyone. I think there's very few businesses out there that are truly for everyone. I think that eBay is one. And for example, we offer a viable alternative to the 9 to 5 and for more traditional workplaces and have done that for the last 25 years. Or just to go and find that unique product that you can't find anywhere else. This is not a pitch for eBay, by the way. So our aim is that whether you are a buyer, seller, or an entrepreneur, you can unlock all the opportunities that our platform offers in connecting you with that global opportunity. And Purple's insights have fed into our ongoing work to improve our platform. We've made some significant changes to accessibility, including enabling keyboard-only access, providing alternative text for icons and images, and introducing an accessibility toolbar. But I think ultimately for us it's about listening to our sellers and our buyers and hearing what they've got to say, what's not working for them, and actually taking action and making changes. So we're also working outside of just our platform, and how do we, given that big purpose of economic opportunity for all, how do we actually support entrepreneurs that are underserved within the UK to access our platform. But also we've got a program called eBay for Change, which is all about supporting social enterprises. That's a lot of the work that I do. And these are businesses that are inclusive by design. And so far we've worked with about 250 social enterprises through that program, including some fantastic businesses that work specifically to support the disabled community. There are lots on the site. There is a hub called eBay for Change. Please go on there and shop from some of these businesses that are driving action with disabled people. And we also know that we need to reflect this inclusivity in our actions as an employer, and as a company we recognise that ensuring our workforce reflects the communities that we serve as a key driver in our success. So we do a lot from a workforce and a workplace point of view to make sure that we're driving that internally. With that, I said I would be brief, but I just wanted to say a huge thank you to Mike and to the Purple team for letting us be part of Purple Tuesday. It's incredible to see it grow into a global day, and for all the work that you do trying to drive truly lasting and sustainable change. Thank you to all of you.
Thank you, Chris. And I can absolutely assure you that eBay back up their ambitions with intent. And we had the pleasure of your head of accessibility, Mark Lepole, who was with me on a 9-hour marathon virtual conference the other week, and people were absolutely mesmerised. Don't tell him, but I wasn't, because I lost him after about 2 minutes, around what can be done to improve accessibility. And the key message is get your people involved from the outset, integrate it from the outset, much cheaper, much easier than retrofitting afterwards. And I think, you know, that is the way forward. Some things will need to be retrofitted, but other things, inclusive design works for all. And I'm a motion spotter here, and Ed, you will know that if you think about inclusive design from the outset, one, it costs less, and two, we know from the accessible rooms that you've done, actually they're booked out more than standard rooms. So commercially and socially, it works. And I just wanted to say that when I stood up at the first conference to announce we were doing Purple Tuesday 6 years ago, there was about 350 people in the room, and I did the presentation and 2 hands went up, and they were both from disabled people, and they both said, and they were in different sides of the room, so unless I was stitched up, I don't think they knew each other, but both said exactly the same thing. We are nervous. We are nervous that Purple Tuesday will turn disabled customers into things that organisations do once a year. And then every 364 other days, it will go back to normal. And I stood on that platform that day and said, that will never happen. Purple Tuesday is what organisations do 365 days. And you will know that the commitments that your organisation and any organisation makes have to be ones that you can deliver all year round. And I remember the really difficult decisions in year 1 and in year 2 when big brands that we needed on board, came up with commitments that everyone knew that they couldn't deliver 365 days. We're going to increase accessible parking by 10%. Are you going to keep that? No, but we will for Purple Tuesday. Well, you can't be part of Purple Tuesday. And as we've grown, what has become really, really important is that the voice and the lived experience of disabled people is rooted in supporting organisations to make those accessibility changes. And I am absolutely delighted that this year we have 15 disabled customer ambassadors who are absolutely rooting everything that we do as Purple Tuesday in accessibility in the right way, whether it's in Pakistan, whether it's in the US, whether it's people of determination in the Middle East. And I am absolutely delighted we have Isaac and we had Shani in the room today, and I am going to ask Shani to come and kind of close this session out, if you can, Shani. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Hi everyone, I'm Shani Dhanda. My visual description is I'm a South Asian woman with a short stature. I have brown skin, dark brown mid-length hair, and I'm wearing a pink dress trying to pass it off as purple. And I have the honour of having the closing words for today's celebration, an opportunity that I really relished when I was asked. Hasn't it been a brilliant morning? Yeah. Can we please give a huge thanks and round of applause to the Purple Tuesday team, because coming this far, so congratulations Mike and to the team. And we're really proud to be working in partnership with all of our sector partners who help us raise awareness of the value of disabled customers through Purple Tuesday to even more businesses and influence positive changes to the customer experience for disabled people and our families 365 days of the year. So a big thank you to you all today for your continued support. We simply couldn't do it without you. I'm a very proud ambassador of Purple Tuesday, and some of you may know me from my campaigning work, or maybe as a broadcaster on shows such as Rip Off Britain and Loose Women. But I'm also an award-winning disability inclusion specialist and listed as one of the most influential disabled people in the UK. Wow. I was born with a very rare genetic condition and I have a short stature, which means that I live in a world that simply isn't designed for me. Unless I go to Kidzania. Has anyone been to Kidzania? I love it. It's designed for kids. I love it. At the age of 16, I really struggled to enter the job market, and it wasn't until after applying for over 100 jobs, it wasn't until I removed any mention of my condition, was I then offered an interview and I got offered a job straight away. I'm a very proud Brummie, but I live here in London. But it's a city with basically no accessible housing, and I can't use public transport because, you guessed it, it's not accessible. But the reason I'm sharing all of this with you is because the condition that I was born with doesn't disable me. It's the barriers and the bias that I face that disable me. And as a consumer myself, I'm largely excluded from the shopping experience. Clothes aren't designed for body types like mine. And in the words of Stephanie Thomas, who is the founder of a lifestyle blog called Curatable, there are more clothing lines available for dogs than disabled people. Shops can be difficult to navigate, and many websites aren't compatible with assistive technology, meaning retailers are losing billions and billions of pounds and dollars and all of the currencies every year by allowing this exclusion. We know about it, but we're allowing it, aren't we? And in these scenarios, I'm paying for things that I know won't suit my needs, but I literally have no other choice. And it's the small things that actually make the biggest difference. So retailers not offering free returns are failing to understand that when I have to buy clothes, I have to buy the size that I think I am, a size smaller and a size bigger, because I have to try them all on and keep whichever one works best and then tailor it. So I choose to shop with retailers that offer me free returns. Or an in-store experience. I spend a lot more money in stores that have baskets with wheels because I can't carry a heavy basket and I can't really push a trolley. So they get all my money. And inaccessible design and negative attitudes perpetuated by the lack of inaccurate representation are major barriers for disabled people, like me, who have multiple marginalised identities, to be connected with others, to be confident and to live independently. But it doesn't have to be this way. Because if we all use the principles of inclusive design at the heart of the decisions that we make, or in the products and the spaces that we create and design, then we'd be much more successful in making most things accessible to the whole range of human diversity that exists in the world. And when we want to reach people of all different backgrounds, we have to be really specific on how we're doing that. It's not good enough just to assume that we will reach them because we want to, right? We have to be specific with our actions, actively seeking to include those that we may not have represented and have been historically excluded, either purposefully or accidentally. And recent research by McKinsey shows that companies who have actively spearheaded diversity and inclusion strategies are 35 more times likely to achieve above average returns, with business performance increased by 31%. Is there anyone in this room who doesn't want that? Right? We all want that. And diversity and inclusion in retail, advertising and marketing matters for brands who want to show that they care and actually that you really get it. Because as marketeers, you spend your time communicating with people about your brand, service or products, offering solutions to our problems as consumers. But how believable are you if your marketing campaigns don't truly reflect your audience? And according to a global study, 72% of people feel most advertising doesn't reflect the world around them. 63% don't see themselves represented in most advertising, and 60% don't see their community of friends, family and acquaintances represented accurately. So this shows us that the relationship that many people have with brands is superficial. Marketing campaigns and brands are really failing to create deep connections between brands and audiences. And as Mike mentioned earlier, consumers, especially the youngest generations, are expecting more from these messages and businesses and brands than just messages and details about the latest seasonal sale. But it's not good enough to just market inclusiveness or diversity when 57% of consumers are more loyal to brands that commit to addressing social inequities in actions. And as an inclusion consultant that works with businesses and brands, I've seen firsthand those emails that come in from existing customers and potential customers questioning brands. What are you doing about sustainability? Where are you on the business's climate change? How diverse is your procurement process? I've seen them. This matters to consumers. And activism through consumer power is something we're seeing more commonly from existing consumers and can of course affect the growth of acquiring new consumers too. Because at the heart of all this, what we're really talking about is creating genuine relationships, loyalty and trust. But not only is this morally the right thing to do, we all know in this room that it makes really good business sense. And as we've already heard, disabled people have a really considerable spending power worth £274 billion to the UK economy. We have about 14.6 million disabled people in the UK. That equates to about 22% of the population. When we include those currently living with long COVID, for example, that shoots up to 25% of the population. So let's not forget that disability can be permanent, temporary, as well as situational. And of this population, and Mike shared earlier, 83% of disabled people were not born disabled. So the chances are disability is something that is going to affect you personally, whether that's through family, friends, or in your business. Your non-disabled workforce will become disabled at some point, as well as your customers. And I'm really sick of this narrative that disabled people are underrepresented. I don't think we are. I think we're over-excluded. It's not like there's not enough of us. Like we're the largest diversity strand in the world that's growing on average 14% per year. And a report called the Click-Away Pound found that 7 in 10 disabled consumers clicked away from a site because they found it difficult to use. And in 2019, businesses in the UK lost £17.1 billion to inaccessible sites, which in 2019 made up 10% of the total UK spend. So if UK businesses haven't done what's required to make their websites accessible, just imagine how much money they're losing now with the total online spending power worth £250 billion. And I want to just talk about disability on a global scale, because we're talking about a consumer market that is larger than the size of China. Because, as Mike mentioned earlier, disability, the market controls over 13 trillion in disposable income, and our friends and family add another 3.3 billion potential consumers who act on their emotional connection to disabled people. So together, disability touches 73% of global consumers. But yet currently 80% of disabled people consider their experiences to be a failure. Now, I know I'm kind of speaking to an audience that's already converted, but it's really helpful to remember these stats. And I know many of you are probably sitting there thinking, I know all this, we've done some stuff, but what else can we do? So I want to leave you with the following message. I understand that disability inclusion might feel uncomfortable. It might feel unknown. It might feel scary. I know some businesses and brands might be scared that it might get something wrong, but it's also uncomfortable being oppressed and over-excluded. And in my opinion, if inclusion doesn't feel uncomfortable, you're probably not doing it right. Hire experts, such as multicultural and inclusive agencies and consultants. Many are in this room today. Perk will have loads that you can tap into. We can help inform your businesses, and you should allocate funding and budget for training and adoption for cultural competency. But you also need to be okay with knowing that you all have so much to unlearn and learn, because no one knows everything and mistakes are expected. So when you make a mistake, just do better next time, and even better, share your learnings for other people too. But ultimately, remember that you have the power to change the way that people experience the world. Having the ability to bring products, services, messages and ideas to the masses is a privilege, but it's also a responsibility. And I truly believe that all of our struggles in this world are tied to each other, and every decision that we make can either raise or lower barriers to participation in society. So my challenge to everyone here is, what action will you take to improve accessibility? What action are you going to take to ensure that the largest consumer group in the world is not continually over-excluded? Thank you.
So Shani has already set out the challenge for all of you in this room for 2023 and how we take Purple Tuesday forward. On behalf of all the Purple Tuesday team, on behalf of the 14.6 million disabled customers in the UK, on behalf of 17% of the global population, thank you for being here today. Thank you for being committed to this issue, and thank you for going forward and doing something about it. The final request from me, because we have to vacate the room at 11, but there is a big space out there if people want to continue to network, is I think my phone has just caught fire with the amount of stuff going on social media. Please make sure it goes up in flames in the next hour or so, and just kind of share, comment. Let's make this what we are calling a movement, a global movement moving, because that's what it feels like. And on behalf of all of us today, a huge thank you for you being involved. Enjoy the rest of your day. I cannot believe it's not even 11 o'clock yet today. But enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you so much. Thank you.